My grandfather was a community leader, a very strong, dedicated man. He was a reverend. He also was very much involved with helping to protect Black voters so that they wouldn't have to deal with the threats of violence from the Klan.
Fulfilling a prophecy. Till my people are playing a part in economies, provided the dignity properly. We are not property. We are the kings and the queens of society. Damn.
The Mississippi state flag has the Confederate symbol flying high. One day, when I look at the Mississippi state flag, I want to feel welcome, that my history and my heritage is just as valid as everyone else's.
M-I-S-S-I-S-S-I-P-P-I to the day I die. Back to the wall and my head to the sky. Hey.
I like to see a flag that unites us rather than divides us. Sometimes you gotta get out of your comfort zone in order for a change to happen. That's just always how it's been. There are gonna be things that make you wanna quit and make you wanna hide. These things, they're part of your growth, but you can't let it shut you up. You can't let it stop you.
She's been making some headlines lately, trying to, fix some things in her home state, Mississippi. And they got, they still fucking with that Confederate flag down there. Give it up for Genesis B.
Low-key, I got fine for saliva. Mississippi bred, hurricane survivor. Southside glider with the iron right beside her. Like, I'm the venom in the viper, I'm hyper.
I was very shy as a kid. I was raised to speak out when I see people being bullied. Even as a kid, I was that little girl. I was shy, but if I saw someone weaker than me being bullied, I had to be the one to be like, listen, that's not cool. Because that's really what it is. When someone has more power than you and can exercise it, because they know you're not in the position to do anything about it. It's like a knife to the heart. I grew up in Biloxi, Mississippi. After the Civil War, my home state became the first of the former Confederate states to enact laws that limited Black folks' rights and civil liberties. From 1877 to 1950, there were 654 racially motivated lynchings in Mississippi, the highest rate in the United States. Mississippi actually remained a majority Black state until the 1930s, when decades of pro-Confederacy racial terrorism and racist laws drove many Black Mississippians to the north. In 2016, I found out that Mississippi Governor Phil Bryant proclaimed April Confederate Heritage Month. Speaking out on this issue, it wasn't an easy decision because I know the type of backlash that I would receive, but I was like, I want to denounce this in a real, unapologetic, bold, in-your-face way.
Mississippi just named April Confederate Heritage Month. They have the audacity to name April Confederate Heritage Month. I'm gonna show you how I celebrate that shit.
I held the flag in one hand and I held a lighter in the next. The crowd started getting really excited, asking for me to burn it. But I chose not to.
Y'all rip this shit apart for me. Rip that shit apart.
Someone took a picture of me holding up the noose, draped in the flag, and the picture went viral. I did get a lot of supportive messages online and a lot of messages online that were violent, derogatory, harassing, calling for violence against me. My ancestors went through it, but instead of hiding behind sheets, they're hiding behind fake avatars and profile pictures. This was all new to me. All of a sudden, I had a national platform. I was doing press tours with Anjanou Ellis, who had been fighting against the flag for years. It seemed that my protest just caused a lot more division because it amplified the conversation to a national level. What do I do now? Engaging online and comments and messages, me being angry or yelling at them or them yelling at me, it's not going to solve anything, although at times that's what we want to do. We've lost the human connection aspect, and I think that's partly why we're in the situation that we're in with this Confederate emblem. There's nothing like looking somebody in the eyes and seeing the subtle nuances for them to be able to relate to you and for you to relate to them. Maybe it's best to speak to people face to face, to go down to Mississippi again and bring humanity back to the conversation. I wanted to reach out to Lewis just to see if he'd be open to this. And he was. And I guess that's all it takes. Flying back to Mississippi, so many things are racing through my head. I'm asking myself, why give credence and validation and credibility to people whose ideology doesn't see me as human? What could the possible outcome be? But there's something deeper that's driving me, letting me know that it's not about the outcome. I'm just curious why people stand so fervently behind this symbol. When I come back home, I just love it. My family's down here, and it's just good to be around grounded people. I think people absolutely have the right to fly the Confederate flag on their own land. Of course, honor your ancestors the way that you feel fit. That should not be taken from you. I do that in my home as well. I honor my ancestors and my family, but I don't put it on the state flag and say you have to honor this too and it represents you. That's the difference. I was brought here during field trips when I was young. And they bring us to this place that is a romanticization of white supremacist and Confederate ideology of like, this is what the South was. Look how beautiful it was. Look how beautiful the clothing and the women were. Look how it was such a simple and polite time. I think that was the first time where it was like, maybe my feelings don't mean a lot. I'm a good old rebel. Now that's just what I am. For this fair land of freedom, I do not care a damn. I hate the Constitution, this great republic too. I hate the Freedmen's Bureau in uniforms of blue. Going to the museum, it only fortified my intuition that I need to speak with people who look at this flag and see home and see respect for their ancestors. Being immersed in this fake world and this fake history, I realized they're immersed in that too. I think there's just a huge denial going on there. You know, they want to just be proud of their ancestors, which, you know, we all want to do. But some things you shouldn't be proud of, you know? The use of violence and fear and intimidation, Mississippi exceeds all the southern states historically. During the Civil Rights Movement, people knew, like, you just don't come here because you will die. That's nothing new, seeing KKK graffiti. You know, my generation has to deal with it. My father's generation had to deal with it way back, all the way back, you know. The KKK shot up my father's childhood home. There's still bullet holes. I have no idea how this conversation's gonna go with Lewis. I wanna really hear him. I'm genuinely curious. I want him to look me in the eyes and tell me why that flag and Confederate heritage is so important to him. I want him to understand why I feel so disrespected. I wanna be able to look him in his face. When you see the state flag, Mississippi state flag, how does it make you feel?
Proud, home. It's definitely a symbol of, you know, home. What about you?
Makes me feel unwelcome. with my grandfather and my family being harassed by KKK and white supremacists flying and waving that flag, there's a negative connotation when I think of that, and it's not something that I say represents me as a descendant of African Americans.
I see where people are offended by it, but I had family members who fought for the Confederacy. I believe that we should just leave it be because it is history. It does show where we come from. We just need to educate the people as to what that flag is, what it really stands for, and that although it is used as a symbol of hate, that's not the true meaning of the flag.
But what about my history, or my ancestors' history under, under that ideology? We'd be even less than. To disrespect your ancestors is not my intent.
No,
at all.
And
Just
I
like
that.
I know you don't want to disrespect
that.
mine. But at the same time, I don't apologize for my protest because I do understand that.
To be heard.
Yeah, I do understand that many Confederates descendants do harbor that ideology of white supremacy and don't acknowledge the faults that came with the history. Confederate veterans were the ones who birthed the KKK. When I did the protest, I was angry. I was so angry. What was your reaction when I did my protest?
At first, I was kind of upset. And then I start to think about it from your point of view and everybody else's point of view, and I start to see, yes, this has been used as a symbol of hate. I can see why it offends her, why she wants it down, why she doesn't want it to represent her home state. We always talk about, if something bothers you, do something about it. Not a lot of people do, and here you are. So I went from upset to understanding to respect. That flag has brought me no harm, no hatred towards me. As much as I would like to have it remain, who's to say that my wishes should outweigh the wishes of another? And it's not fair at all. Will I lose my heritage if that flag's changed? No, it won't. And I support your decision in wanting to change the flag.
Without having a dialogue where people can see like this, it's a skewed perception of what Mississippi is, what Mississippians are like. Because I love my state. Anywhere I go, I'm repping it. I think it would open up a lot of hearts and be like, okay, people are really ready to move forward and be neighbors. To hear Lewis say that he believes in me, even though he disagrees with some of the things that I say, that's beautiful, I wish more people could see that side of people from Mississippi. It is a very sensitive topic here in Mississippi, and the fact that Lewis and I was able to discuss it peacefully is because there's a mutual respect there. When there's not respect and absolutely no trust, it's very hard to have conversations that don't get heated or get violent or abusive and abrasive. If you're unwilling to even listen to someone's point of view or try to empathize, you're not really adding anything to the table.
I'm here to convince the legislature and the governor to have some moral courage and do the right thing. Remove this racist Confederate imagery from that flag. Go to your mayors, go to your city councils and say, hey, look, we don't want it flown there. Let your voices be heard.
We want to remove it. We would like a vote today.
No hate, no fear. All people are welcome here.
Over a year passed since that last conversation with Lewis. Trump was elected president of the United States, and the events in Charlottesville would unfold. It was time for us to bring other Mississippians into this conversation and to the table, people with different views on the flag. It was time for us to speak to each other. First of all, I just want to commend everybody for being here.
We're trying to prove that people with differences can come together and reconcile for a solution peacefully.
I want everyone to feel like they can be honest. When you see the flag, how does it make you feel? The Mississippi State flag specifically.
To me, I see it as something beautiful.
one of my great-great-great-grandfathers was a general in the Confederate Army. And my family has always been like heritage over hate with the flag.
It represents my heritage, but not in a good way.
It's part of my home. It's a statement of my home.
It's still a symbol of the Confederacy. The Confederacy in total was still about white supremacy.
I don't see how a symbol can oppress people.
If the South would have won, we would never be at this table right here. So when I'm looking at what you may consider to be a statue of your heritage, I see it as a shrine to white supremacy.
There's people that can believe in the flag and not have racist feelings.
I can agree with that. But then I also see how there are some undertones. It tears me up to know that I know good people who support that flag, but who also have these underlying views that are racist.
I don't think that changing a flag is going to solve that issue. I believe racism is much deeper than any cloth.
There's so much going on, have taken place and happened in this country, that there's nothing that in this particular climate in this country, there's nothing in America that I feel like ever represents me.
I still identify as American, but I'm conflicted. I'm not fully on the, you saying it doesn't, and it probably will never me. I'm just conflicted. I feel American, but I don't.
Our
much
ancestors
stuff,
had a lot to do with building this country, and a lot
That
of
is
this
true. That's
country,
why I'm
America,
defending.
is
conflicted.
built on our ancestors. Like we do have a stake in this country.
Personally, I have been trying to be more brave in my familial, talks and everything. When politics comes up, and these days it comes up a lot, and no one's gonna say the same things in front of you that they're gonna say in front of me.
Absolutely.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
Just because of the divide that we have when it comes to topics like, the Confederate flag or emblems, and how it affects us in the African American community or any other community of minorities. Just to see you two come together and, like I said, reach a common front and actually see each other's point of view. You don't necessarily have to agree, but if you can come together with empathy and with love and with the right spirit, things can change in the world.
If the flag does change, I want to make sure that my voice is heard on the new flag. I don't want to let my intolerance prohibit me from, being a part of that.
I feel like I need to talk to pro-flaggers more, and so that I'm not projecting any kind of hateful stigma onto them. Mm-hmm. And I also feel like there's definitely, I've had this conversation with a few white males in my life who have felt like they can't say what they want to say anymore without being attacked. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I definitely feel that from, white men in my life who I've talked to, had these conversations with.
Being attacked by other white Americans?
Not that, or people of color, or,
Just in general.
There is that feeling. I don't really share that feeling, and I don't agree with it. And I push back on it when I've heard it.
They see that we support the flag, and they automatically deem us a racist. And we needed this here so that we could come together and voice our opinion that there aren't, just because we support the flag does not mean we don't care about your well-being, your well-being.
And that's why it's so important for you to be here, because I can't tell you how many people I reached out to on the pro-flag side who just was not for this. You see how disproportionate it is. I had to turn away people who were willing to go on camera and say, change the flag. So it's very, it's brave of you to be here. But also it's like, I don't understand why more pro-flaggers don't want to share their perspective.
They don't want to be demonized, like he said. It's.
But wouldn't it help them to do this so that they aren't?
It would, but like we've all said, there's that distrust of media, the fear of being demonized. No matter what you say, you're a rebel flag supporter, and
If this could take place in multiple places around Mississippi with true intentions, people's hearts can be changed. It's not about changing their mind on whether the flag flies or not. You're still gonna feel that way. But it's a matter of us acknowledging each other as humans and not having that distrust.
If you have people that come together and that do not know how to speak, you will get nothing done.
I'm going forward with it. If we were to do that, if old backwoods, red dirt, cotton picking Mississippi can figure it out, you know, maybe the rest of the world can figure it out as well.
Maybe the rest of the world can. Maybe we could teach the world something. Who knows? No.
What's that Faulkner quote?
Which one?
To understand the world, you have to understand a place like Mississippi.
Oh, that's real.
I think we should end on that note.
So just a few days ago, before the shoot, people online were just saying harassing threats to shoot me and burn me. I am exhausted and I'm very drained just from the happenings of the whole week. But we're gonna continue to do it until all of Mississippi is, you know, having a discussion with their neighbors and their friends in the name of trusting each other and breaking down barriers and healing with one another and empathy.
Thank you.
I have a conversation with Lewis. He is a son of Confederate veterans member. He decided that he would meet with me on camera, and we had a beautiful, beautiful discussion. I don't believe in changing the minds of people in Mississippi. I think we have to change the hearts, because when that referendum vote comes around, hopefully soon in the next couple years, hopefully the next year, you know, I want them to say, you know what, I understand why these people want this changed.
America still has to deal with its racial reckoning, and there's no way around that. After George Floyd was publicly executed, it can no longer be ignored. And it's heartbreaking to think that that's what it took. It's not happening overnight, but we are starting to see the conversation shift towards what does systemic change look like in terms of racism and white supremacist ideology. We just continue to chip away and chip away and chip away. We knew that this was also the time to bring attention again to this state flag. So our lawmakers were feeling that pressure.
We are now here before you with legislation to establish the creation and adoption of the process by which we will adopt a new state flag that will be voted on by the people of Mississippi. It shall not include the design of the Confederate battle flag,
but shall include the words, "In God we trust." It's time for Mississippi to meet this challenge head on, and it's time to place a new flag up on top of this Capitol for the people of this great state. My flag costs us jobs in Mississippi.
I ask each of you, as we recognize and understand the Mississippi of yesterday, let's vote today for the Mississippi of tomorrow.
I'm proud to represent a district that wants to retire this flag and bring forth a new flag representing the new Mississippi, which is a modern state where companies like Toyota and Nissan and Gramer and Continental Tire want to come and do business.
And let's build our state and let's make it an oasis. And we have the potential to do it.
Folks, you have to let the people have their say sometimes, if for no other reason than to diffuse the anger. They're just angry. They want to be heard.
We in the legislature can finish this job right here and right now, and I encourage you to vote by use of the afternoon roll call to adopt House Bill 1796. Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator has moved for use of the afternoon roll call. Does anyone object to the procedure?
Barnett, Blackman, Blackwell, Blunt, Boyd.
I used to think Mississippi operated in a vacuum.
Right.
But I realize now it doesn't. See, Mississippi is a microcosm of a nation. Police exoneration and mass incarceration. Black and brown bodies a commodity. Mothers separated from babies, border policy. Our White House is painted in the Klan's ideology. Our leadership is exploiting white poverty, keeping us separate and divided. Gay versus straight, white versus black, based off of fear and far from the facts. See, I hail from a state called the mighty Mississippi. Our state flag holds the stars and bars, praising a brutal history. It flies in front of schools and in my judge's court, sending a clear message to us, our lives are not important.
You've been traumatized by that symbol, and I haven't. I see where you're coming from. You'd have to unwind a whole, lifetime of trauma and hate.
But still, I love America, because I have hope. Some choose to jump ship, and some steer the boat. Study law, run for office, use your voice, write your Congress. Make a call or choose a march, Malcolm's gone, grab the torch.
Turner Ford, Whaley, Wiggins, Witherspoon, Younger.
By a vote of 37-14, the bill passes.
I'm like, so many emotions. So many emotions. I just think about my nieces, man. They're gonna grow up in a Mississippi that their state flag doesn't say that they're less than human. Their state flag doesn't say that their highest potential is that of servitude, which is what the cornerstone speech of the Confederacy says. And think about my ancestors who were attacked with that banner waving.
He's about to sign it. He's getting ready to sign.
You will no longer have to walk past that flag at your graduation like I did. That's right. I'm proud of my state today.
And people long after us gonna feel the battles and the blood, the sweat and tears that we shedded for the fights that we're fighting in our age.
Yes.
I'm also thinking about the people who didn't want that flag to come down. I'm thinking about y'all too. And I know, I know you can't hear me right now, but hear me when I say, this is the move that's gonna bring Mississippi into the greatness that it could be. Mississippi has so much potential. Holding on to that past is holding us back. And I know you can't see that now, but you're gonna see Mississippi can move forward now. And we need y'all to come to the table too. We have to speak to each other, talk to each other. But if your argument is rooted in thinking that I am somehow less than human, then how can we talk? How can you even listen to me? We have to get past that. And this is just the first step. Mississippi has a lot of work to do, but this is the right move. This is the right move right here. We did it. Mississippi has a lot of beautiful things that we can glorify. Not that heritage, y'all. It's time to move on, and we could do it together. We're gonna do it together, Yeah. Whew. Yeah, that's all.